On a planet called Mother World, the royal bloodline had ruled for thousands of years. However, their thirst for power ultimately led them to destroy their own world, as everything on the planet was consumed by their greed. Determined to expand their empire, they sent armies to conquer other planets. But one day, the king and queen were assassinated. The conquered planets saw this as their chance to rise up. At this moment, Senator Belisarius stood up and proclaimed himself the new regent. He immediately sent the most brutal warriors to crush all the rebels without mercy. On a planet called Veldt, a community of farmers were going about their daily work. Suddenly, they noticed a warship of the Empire flying in the sky. Kora, a war orphan, immediately recognized it and rushed to ring the village bell to warn everyone. Sindri, the village leader, gathered the villagers to discuss how to deal with the situation. Gunnery, a farmer, suggested that they should welcome the soldiers because the Empire would buy their grain at 3 times the price it would fetch in the city. But Kora immediately disagreed, explaining that the Empire only knew how to seize everything by force and left nothing but destruction. An argument broke out, but before they could reach a conclusion, the Empire's warship landed near the village. Admiral Noble met with Sindri and embraced him, explaining that they were searching for a group of rebels led by the Bloodaxe brothers. However, their army was lacking in food. Sindri lied, saying that their land did not produce much, so the village only had enough to feed itself, with no surplus to provide. Admiral Noble didn't believe him and pointed out that everyone here looked healthy and well fed. At that moment, Gunnery spoke up, explaining that Sindri was only trying to hold on to the food for the winter to protect the village, but he would sell some to Noble at a fair price. Furious at being deceived, Noble grabbed a staff and struck Sindri dead. When Sindri's wife tried to reach her husband, a guard used a glowing sword and killed her. Admiral Noble declared that he would return in 10 weeks to harvest all the rice, regardless of whether anything would be left for the villagers. Then, Noble and the warships departed, but a small group of soldiers led by Faunus stayed behind to oversee the village. While some soldiers drove villagers out of their buildings, they sought to seize the village's possessions. Aris activates Jimmy, a robot that once served the king. After the royals were killed, all robots had laid down their arms and refused to fight, so the remaining ones only performed menial tasks. As Jimmy helped the soldiers carry supplies, Marcus decided to test the rumors. He started shooting at the robot, causing it to fall without defending itself. Aris intervened to stop Marcus, nearly getting killed, but Faunus stopped them and ordered them to get back to work. He also checked to see if Jimmy was malfunctioning, then sent him to the river to wash mud. While Jimmy was washing his face, he met Sam, who befriended the robot and listened to his story. Jimmy explained that Sam reminded him of the Empire's princess, who had been killed along with her parents by traitors. Sam said that the princess lived on within him, then gave Jimmy a garland made of wildflowers, which seemed to activate something within him. Meanwhile, in the village hall, the villagers discussed what to do next. They concluded that they had to work hard to prove the value of their crops. Only then, they believed, would the Empire refrain from destroying them, allowing them to continue producing food. Frustrated that no one heeded her warnings, Kora began packing her belongings to leave. However, she was caught just as she was about to depart by Hogan, the man who had found her when her ship crashed on this planet 2 years ago. Hogan thought Kora should ally with the rebels to protect the village. However, Kora refused, saying they stood no chance of victory and that it would only lead to a massacre. In the evening, Marcus and 2 other soldiers kidnapped Sam, intending to use her for the group's gratification. Kora heard her screams but told herself not to interfere. Aris arrived to protect Sam, managing to take down a few soldiers, but he was quickly overwhelmed due to their numbers. At that moment, Faunus arrived and tried to take Sam for himself, but he was interrupted by Kora, who appeared wielding an axe. Faunus ordered the soldiers to attack her. Initially, Kora pretended to surrender, only to suddenly move with lightning speed, taking down 2 soldiers in a few swift moves. It became clear she was a seasoned warrior, facing the lower-ranked soldiers with ease. She used their weapons against them and even threw dirt to cause distraction. One by one, the soldiers were either defeated with precision or brutally incapacitated. When one soldier almost shot her, Aris killed him first. Marcus then tried to open fire on her, but Kora quickly disarmed him, leaping up and shooting him in the head. Now, with Kora and Aris in position to corner Faunus, he held Sam hostage, preventing them from making a move. At this moment, Jimmy appeared, and Faunus ordered him to kill the rebels. However, as Jimmy raised his gun, he looked at Sam, and instead of shooting Kora, he killed Faunus. Afterward, Jimmy fled, and the villagers arrived just as Kora finished off a surviving soldier. She declared that she would help them fight, but first, she would need to gather more troops. Before they departed, Hogan gave Kora a special gun he had found on her crashed ship. Kora and Gunnery rode horses over a long stretch of road and stopped at night to set up camp. Taking the opportunity, Kora shared her story. When she was only 9 years old, an imperial army led by Belisarius attacked her home planet, causing death and destruction everywhere. Her village tried to fight back, but it only made Belisarius more ruthless. One evening, Kora managed to steal a gun, but she was caught by Belisarius, who approached her to mock her. Kora was too young and unable to kill anyone. As a result, Belisarius killed her family and kidnapped her, taking her under his protection. In the years that followed, Kora was trained in the culture of Motherworld and became a part of their army. High-ranking officials encouraged soldiers to find a lover to fuel their motivation to fight. Kora eventually lost her lover in the war. Devastated, she fought fiercely for revenge, and by the time she was 18, she had become a commander. Throughout those years, Kora was merely a pawn in their brainwashing schemes. She destroyed thousands of villages in the name of those who had killed her family. The next day, Kora and Gunnery arrived in the city, furious to discover that a bounty hunter had captured Gunnery's contact. With no other way to reach the rebel fighters, Kora decided they must first find the legendary General Titus. Only after that would she approach the rebels. The two entered a tavern, where a repulsive alien mistook Gunnery for Kora's slave and attempted to buy him. When the man overreaches and tries to stab Kora warns him to leave, but he becomes aggressive. Without hesitation, Kora swiftly defeated him, slamming him onto a table. The alien quickly fled, while a mysterious figure watched from the shadows. Suddenly, Kora declared that she was searching for Titus, hoping someone would have information. A small alien used a human body as a proxy to speak. It informed Kora that Titus was fighting in the arena on the planet Pollux. This meant they would need a spaceship to travel there. Just then, the repulsive alien returned with 3 bodyguards, seeking revenge. A shootout broke out immediately, and everyone in the tavern scrambled to escape. While Kora engaged in a gunfight with the bodyguards, she moved strategically to take them down one by one. Gunnery tried to fight the alien hand-to-hand, but his punches had no effect. Luckily, Kora knocked the alien down before it could kill Gunnery. She then turned back to kill the last bodyguard, but the alien tried to attack from behind. At that moment, Kai appeared and shot him dead first. Kai then checked the dead alien's bag and offered his ship to take them to Pollux, accepting the little money they had as payment. As they took off, Kai told them he knew of a warrior who could help them, so they agreed to stop at another planet first. Gunnery had never left his world and was amazed to see the spaceship flying through space. Meanwhile, aboard the Empire's flagship, Noble was smoking through a device that connected the pipe directly to his body. A soldier arrived to report that a bounty hunter had captured an informant. Noble ordered the informant to be brought before him, then returned to his tentacled lover. Not long after, Kora's group arrived on the planet Noi Wodi and met a rancher named Hickman, who owned a slave named Tarak. Tarak had once fought against the Empire, but he was captured and enslaved. He longed to fight again, but he owed Hickman a massive debt to buy his freedom. At that moment, Hickman proposed a wager. If Tarak could tame a notorious beast called the Bennis, he would be allowed to leave. If he failed, Kora and her team would become Hickman's slaves. They accepted the bet, and Tarak approached the Bennis, a ferocious creature thrashing wildly against its chains. Tarak knelt to show he meant no harm and spoke in his native language. He explained that they were alike, both torn from their homelands and chained. With gentle words, he created a bond with the Bennis. With a light touch, Tarak freed the beast from its chains, and they soared into the sky together. However, the beanie struggled to adjust to carrying a rider, nearly crashing into rocks. At one point, Tarak fell off the edge of a cliff, but he quickly recovered and made a daring leap to climb back onto the Bennis. Now, they could fly more smoothly and soon returned to the ranch without further issues. Tarak was allowed to leave with Kora's group. Hickman, with an arrogant smirk, tried to ride the Bennis again, but the beast threw him off and killed him with its claws. Kora is impressed with Tarak, so Kai offers to take her to meet other warriors who can help them. In no time, they arrived on the planet Dagus and met the swordswoman Nemesis, who was on a personal mission before joining the team. She is pursuing Hamada, a spider-like alien whose children were murdered by the Empire and has now kidnapped a human child in revenge seeking justice. Nemesis tried to reason with Hamada, explaining that she too had lost a child to the Empire. However, Hamada refused to listen and attacked. With her masterful swordsmanship, Nemesis dodged and parried strikes from Hamada's spider legs, even severing one leg to make her release the child. While Gunnery rescued the little girl, Hamada overpowered Nemesis and pierced her arm. However, Nemesis was wearing a mechanical glove, allowing her to move and cut off another of Hamada's legs. Hamada knocked Nemesis down again and turned to attack Gunnery and the child. But Nemesis struck Hamada's abdomen just in time, then used her glove to ignite her blade. She slid across the ground, delivering a critical blow to Hamada's spider body before plunging both swords into her humanoid torso. After completing her mission, Nemesis joined the group, and the team continued their journey. Gunnery and Kora have another intimate moment, and this time she decides to reveal more about herself. As Belisarius's adopted daughter, Kora once lived a life of privilege and later became a member of the royal guard. She was tasked with protecting the princess, who possessed the extraordinary power to revive living beings. To this day, Kora feels guilty for failing to save the princess on the day of the attack. The group then arrived on the planet Pollux and visited the arena, where dozens of warriors lost their lives every day. General Titus was in a dire state, and they had to drag him inside to clean him up, despite his constant protests. Previously, Titus was a loyal commander under the old king. However, he fell into deep depression when his army was ambushed, and all his soldiers were slaughtered because he attempted to surrender. At first, Titus refused to fight, but he later changed his mind when Kora offered him the chance for revenge. Meanwhile, the bounty hunters brought the rebel group's contact to meet Noble. He promised to release the contact if given information. The contact revealed that the Bloodaxe brothers were being protected by King Levitica on the planet Sharan. After obtaining the information, Noble killed the contact. Shortly after, Kora's group arrived on Sharan and met King Levitica, who agreed to arrange a meeting with the rebel forces. Soon after, the Bloodaxe brothers and the rebel army arrived. Kora told them about the upcoming battle, admitting that the chances of victory were slim. However, she emphasized that her village had always provided food for them and the least they could do was stand up to protect the villagers. Brother Darian agreed to help and stepped forward to his army, giving an emotional speech to rally volunteers. Some enthusiastic rebel fighters volunteered to join. Then, Kora's group left with their new allies, and Kai declared that he had been deeply inspired by them and wanted to join the fight. However, he needed to deliver a few shipments, and Kora agreed to make one last stop before heading home. Just as the group left, Noble and his army found Levitica and destroyed his kingdom. Despite being threatened, Levitica refused to cooperate, and Noble killed him with his staff. While the army continued to blow everything up, Noble received a message revealing the location of the rebel group's hideout. A few hours later, Kora's team arrived in Gonville and helped Kai unload goods on a bridge. Kora observed how Kai interacted with the locals and sensed that something was wrong. Suddenly, a hidden Empire spacecraft opened fire, destroying most of their ships. A team of robots appeared out of nowhere and ambushed the group, capturing most of the members. At that moment, Kai revealed his true intentions. He had always known Kora was a former wanted commander, and her head was worth a large bounty. He had used her to gather a group of legendary wanted warriors to hand over to the Empire in exchange for the reward. Soon after, Noble appeared with his army, disarming Kora. Kai pushed Gunnery forward and said he was just a farmer, and they would let him go if he killed Kora. Gunnery pretended to be about to shoot her, but at the last moment, he unexpectedly freed her and turned back to shoot Kai dead. Kora immediately charged at a soldier, taking him down to grab his gun. She quickly ran and hid as Noble's army opened fire. She did her best to shoot back, blowing up a box and causing a massive explosion that blew the enemies away. Gunnery quickly seized the opportunity to free all the remaining warriors. Not long after, Nemesis rushed in, swinging her sword and fiercely taking down the enemies. On the other side, Darian pushed a soldier off the bridge and ordered his team to gather the few surviving ships after the attack. As the battle grew more intense, Tarka, Titus and Gunnery found a few guns. They fired while providing cover for Nemesis as she continued to slice through the Empire's army. At that moment, Noble ordered his hidden spacecraft to appear. The ship immediately opened fire on the rebel ships, destroying nearly all of them. Desperate to save his people, Darian grabbed a metal rod, taking down each Empire soldier as he charged across the bridge. He then leapt onto the enemy ship, trying to take down the pilot. Unfortunately, his first lunge missed, the pilot dodged and fired back. However, Darian, determined, tried again and this time succeeded, killing the enemy to stop the attack. But he also had to pay with his life. His body fell onto the control panel, causing the ship to slowly crash down onto the bridge. Bitter and enraged, Kora sprang from her hiding place, running and shooting down each soldier on the bridge as she advanced toward Noble. Just then, the ship crashed down, destroying most of the bridge, but Noble narrowly escaped death by landing on a floating platform. Suddenly, Kora appeared behind him, and a fierce hand-to-hand combat ensued. They exchanged ruthless blows, each strike carrying fury and a fierce determination to survive. After a series of intense exchanges, Noble knocked Kora off the platform. But in the last moment, she gripped a rope tightly. As Noble tried to cut the rope to defeat her, Kora used her strength to hold on tight and used the rope like a whip, whipping Noble hard, causing him to lose his balance. Kora climbed back onto the platform, continuing the fight. This time, she used the rope to block Noble's staff, ultimately breaking it. She used a remaining piece of the staff to stab him in the leg, causing Noble to writhe in pain. Noble tried to keep fighting, but now he was weakening. Kora quickly broke his arm, then took the staff and thrust it into his chest before pushing him off the platform. Afterwards, Tarek used the rope to pull the platform toward the bridge to rescue Kora. The entire group of surviving warriors made it and they returned to Veldt together to prepare to defend the farming community. From a distance, Jimmy watched them, wearing a strange crown on his head. Meanwhile, the enemy retrieved Noble's body. Instead of treating him, they opened his body to connect him with the neural lake, revealing that Noble was actually a cyborg. As the liquid surrounded his body, Noble's mind appeared before Belisarius. Belisarius angrily scolded Noble for his failure, then struck the ice beneath their feet with his staff. He ordered Noble to capture Kora alive so that he could kill her himself. Then, Belisarius shattered the ice, sending Noble's consciousness back into his body. The doctors found no brain activity from him, forcing them to inject a powerful dose to wake him up. Noble woke up with a scream of agony. Be sure to follow and turn on notifications so you don't miss other exciting videos. Thank you for watching.